Okay, and we are live. We're live. We're live. Oh yeah. Greg said something about joining us, and Greg, if you're listening, you're more than welcome to join. I don't really care. So come on in.
We have like nice little free for all discussions though.
Yes. It's a free for all discussions. It'll be fun. Um. Sorry, I was looking at what Travis put in the title. So okay. So hi Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm so excited to finally talk to you. I haven't talked to you in seems like forever.
I know I've been slacking on my podcast stuff. It's been really bad. It's been really bad. But
I've been bad about doing
I,
my homework. Especially with SDS. I've been really bad. I've been traveling a lot. I mean, work has been it's like really geared up and it's really crazy, which I love, but still.
yeah, definitely. I like work. So I tore a labrum in my hip.
Oh.
So I'm gonna need surgery and like physical therapy and stuff. And so yeah.
Well, I've had a couple of friends have had like the shoulder issues. Like a guy I worked with, he literally had to have his bicep like pulled. I was like, oh, so
Yeah. I'm not
yeah.
excited. But I'm in pain constantly. So I'm like, you know what? Whatever fixes it. So
Well, sending you good vibes. Just let me know how it goes.
thanks. I will. First physical therapy appointment is Monday. So we'll see how it goes.
Go ahead.
But you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's do this.
We have a lot of little stuff to talk about, and then like books and more books. So yeah.
Lots of books.
And then Bad Batch. You watched the Bad Batch, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, cool. So make my note here, and 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of a Star Wars Alliance. Where today, oh wait, that's my slice of film intro. We're not taking a slice out of anything today. I'm going off of memory by this and don't have my script in front of me. Today we're talking about Star Wars. A lot of Star Wars, like typical. So we got a lot of stuff like Disney Plus related to talk about. We got some Book of Boba Fett. We got some Andor, and we got some nabs from the Obi-Wan Kenobi sets. So it's a lot of things, but yes. So with me today, you've heard her already. Sarah is stepping in for Nathan today. Nathan made a last-minute plan to go to the water park. So, Sarah,
hi.
Right, it's hot.
So, long time no see, my friend. Long time no see.
I gotta do better at this. I gotta do better at this podcast and stuff. You know.
I know. It's tough, man. It's tough, but it's so worth it.
I've been busy like preparing myself mentally. So Matt and I have been married now for almost 6 months, and our parents have never met each other. Well, so his mom is meeting my parents next Saturday. So like the past 3 weekends, I'm just like, oh crap, there's 3 more weeks. Oh, there's 2 more weeks.
Counting down.
And then like, yeah, because I'm like, there's all this stuff that I wanted to do, and like my family's just weird. They don't listen to this, but they all know it's true. So they're all weird. We're all weird in some way, shape, or form. So I'm nervous, but yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Just like when my parents met Brian's parents the first time, because I'll never forget, because since they live in Michigan and I'm from North Carolina, so when Brian and I started dating, my dad's a southern daddy. Yeah. So he's like, well, who's their people? Who's his parents? I'm like, I can tell you.
Do I want to tell you though?
I can tell you they are. But no, that turned out just fine. I mean, my parents and his parents, I mean, they're about a generation apart, but
yeah,
they get along really well. Of course, that distance helps too. Love my in-laws, don't get me wrong, but it's like
definitely. So before we get into the Star Wars stuff, news, discussions, we do have 2 questions that we're gonna hit as part of it. So be fun. But before we get into all that, I do have to hit the podcast paperwork side of things. So yes. Star Wars Alliance is a part of the Geek Ultimate Alliance podcast network, where we have shows every single day of the week. Saturday to Monday, you have your comic book run of the network with Weird Science DC, Weird Science Marvel, and World's Finest True Believers, which is every other week. the opposite week for World's Finest True Believers, you do have your Power Rangers Ranger Alliance. So that took over, I believe it was 2 weeks ago now. So they're rolling along. Rolling along. I have my day back on Thursday, so Thursdays are now my day completely. Tuesdays, DC Alliance. Wednesdays, Marvel Alliance. Or I'm sorry, Wednesdays right now is superhero discussions because of Loki. So they have switched days, so Marvel Alliance can tackle Loki as soon as it comes out, basically. So that there's all your animated needs on Wednesdays. Thursdays, you've got Slice of Film 1 week and Star Wars Alliance, which is the show the next. Fridays, Marvel Alliance. They're covering Loki right now, which I was really intrigued about. I'm gonna have to get on Super Civil Servant so I could talk about it because I'm like,
absolutely, you are more than welcome.
I know. Not this week though, because she's coming up Friday, so I don't have my studio. But anyways,
fine.
Sorry, y'all. I'm panicking a little bit. Not really, but yeah.
It'll be fine. It'll be fine.
So that covers us for all the shows that we've got going on. And of course, you can follow the Geek Ultimate Alliance Podcast Network at GUA Pod Network on Twitter. And that will provide you all the links to your shows, except for mine, because I'm slack and I never promote my show because I forget constantly. Still haven't promoted last week's Slice of Film. Y'all go listen to it. It's a quiet place. It was a really good discussion. So we do also have Patreon where we have 2 tiers. The $1 tier, just as your tip jar, it helps keep the kyber crystals charged around here. It just says, hey, we appreciate you and we appreciate any support we get. So the $5 tier gets y'all ad-free episodes, exclusive episodes, and any early episodes we may drop. This show also has ads in it, so I will try and give you a warning when those occur during the show. But just so y'all know now, we don't get to choose who the ads are from, how many times you hear the ad in the episode, nor how loud they are. So the warnings just give y'all a preparation that they are coming. So, yes. With that, let's dive into it because I'm terrible at the paperwork. So
you did a good job.
Hey, I did that off from memory. So
good job. I think I did it like one time and it was awful. I was awful.
All right. So first things first, we have the Book of Boba Fett. Tamir Morrison did an interview with Rotten Tomatoes, where he talked about kind of his 5 favorite films and then dived into kind of what is happening with the Book of Boba Fett. So there's a couple things that he has, but first up, so Robert Rodriguez was brought back to direct a few episodes of the Book of Boba Fett, and he's producing the show. So he was still involved, but he is directing a couple, which is good because those were some of my favorite episodes of Mandalorian season 2. Like he directed the season of finale, so very good, very good. He said they brought Robert back in to direct a few more. There's some wonderful directors involved. It's hard work now. What we do now, a whole new system with COVID in place, health and safety regulations. So, like I said, he's the executive producer, along with Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. So, but it's really kind of the first official confirmation of the directors we've had. I figured he was going to be directing at least one, if not multiple episodes. So he is directing multiple in this case, which we don't know how many episodes there are going to be. So what do you think about this?
I think that's going to be fun. That's going to be fun. I mean, it's still from like, I guess season 1 of Mandalorian, when you heard this first, you're just like, it's Boba Fett. And nobody was like, yeah, right, whatever. So for him to come back, it's going to answer a lot of questions that a lot of fans have, especially from the original trilogy, because it's like, what happened to Boba Fett? What happened to him? So I think it's just it's going to be fun. And like I said, having Robert Rodriguez, that's going to be awesome because he's a really cool director. I think he's going to take it in a really cool direction. I think it's going to be nice and gritty. I think it's going to be, I don't know. It's just so exciting because honestly, as a Star Wars fan, it's like you didn't realize Boba Fett would come back, especially now, further down the line, because you figure that Sarlacc, that was probably like the last you saw of him. But I'm really excited, really super excited.
Me too. And like, I just hope we get to kind of see more of like the Legends Boba Fett, because he does survive in Legends, and then you actually get a good amount of focus on his character. He pops back in a couple times. It definitely in the Legacy of the Force series where he teaches Jaina how to kill a Jedi. Um, and there's a couple others where he pops back in, and it's kind of like you get that confrontation back with him and Han, and it's just really cool. And they actually dive a lot into like the science of cloning and like if he can further survive like more clones because of how the genetics work and everything. So if you're interested, you can go on Wikipedia and look at his Boba Fett and then hit Legends. So Wikipedia has a Legends tab and then a Canon tab. So they talk about both sides of the character. So you can scroll down for references and what he appears in, and that'll show you every book he's in. If anyone's wanting more Boba Fett content. So further things he discussed in the interview was Rotten Tomatoes asked the question. He said, speaking of action, I do have to ask about Boba Fett. And Morrison said, my lips are sealed. I can't say too much about that. And the interviewer said, well, I will avoid the Book of Boba Fett. But for The Mandalorian, which everyone has seen, what was it like to return to that character and do that hand-to-hand combat and do things that we hadn't really seen in a Star Wars movie before? Morrison said, I think that was a blessing for me in a way in terms of Boba Fett's history. No one's actually seen him do anything besides stand there. And of course, his claim to fame was catching the man, I guess. But other than that, he was a pretty elusive bloke. So this was an opportunity again to work with Robert Rodriguez, who gave it a little bit of an edge. I think Robert's ability was to sort of make a good point of making this guy explode. After it, Favreau came up to me and just said, congratulations, the fans loved it. So he said that, and the interviewer asked another question, will we see more of that Boba Fett, the hand-to-hand fighting Boba Fett in the new series? Well, we can't say too much, but we're going to see his past and where he's been since The Empire Strikes Back. Someone pointed out he's been kind of stuck in this one place, and now's the time to actually go back in time and check out his journey and find out more about him. But yeah, that was an advantage that was the advantage for me, that we hadn't seen him do too much. And along with Robert Rodriguez as director, we were able to sort of introduce him in a dynamic way, bring him back in a dynamic way alongside The Mandalorian. It's an honor to be asked back. It's a new time and they're looking for fresh faces. Favreau and Filoni probably meeting and then had a few discussions. That he looked at the concept photos on the wall, and there was a guy that looked very, very similar to me. And he kept saying, is that me? Yeah, it must be me. Yeah, it is me. It's kind of like Pedro Pascal, where Pedro walked in and Favreau had all these things on the wall. And Pedro's like, well, who do you want me to play? And Favreau's like, I want you to play that guy. And pointed to the Mandalorian. And he was like, if you see his Star Wars, it was like I think it was Star Wars Celebration, where they did like a panel for the Mandalorian. And he like talked through the story and he's like sobbing. It was so cool to see. This is why I think Grace Randolph is full of shit, saying like but yeah, that I've already been over on several podcasts.
Well, yeah, and then the fact that Pedro Pascal, he was like such a huge fan of Star Wars to begin with. The fact that he was attached to any project, any and all projects. I mean, it was, kind of like a dream come true.
Yeah, definitely.
So, absolutely.
I'm trying to. Yeah. So finally he said, I just hope I meet the expectations, because you can somehow kind of feel those things. You asked me that question earlier about occupation. That's what the interview is for. Was he has a movie coming out this fall? Could you feel or sense anything? But definitely on the Book of Boba, you can get more of a sense and a feeling for if it's working or not. So what did you think about, like, I know you were excited to see Boba and the Mandalorian.
Yes.
So what are you most hoping for in the Book of Boba Fett?
I think it's just kind of like just from because I really haven't gotten too far into the Star Wars canon, because when I met you and Nathan, that's when I kind of dove a little bit more further. So I mean, really, I just had the films to go off of. So as just a, I don't want to say general audience at that moment, but to have something like this to fill in the blanks or to carry the story further, and that's what I'm so enjoying about the Star Wars or Star Wars right now, is because you're getting all this more, all this content, whether it's canon, it's a part of canon, obviously. So for Boba Fett to be such iconic character, you want to know, and a lot of people haven't read the books, they haven't dove too far to the canon. So to get something like this to, it's just like my husband. He loved Boba Fett. That's like one of his favorite characters. So now when you have this, it's like, okay, you realize that Boba's story didn't finish. So it's just a continuation of it. And I think that's what's so cool about it. I think that's what's so cool about what Favreau and Filoni's doing. It's you're fleshing out more of that canon. You're giving, and you're trying to pull in more fans as well. Just like, my son, he's 11. Yeah, he knows about Boba Fett, but I mean, it's like, he may have more questions like, okay, what happened afterwards? What happened? You always have that story. What happened? So that's what I'm really excited about. Just to kind of, you got your puppy back there snoozing too.
Yeah, I got both of them actually. This is rare.
Yeah, I've got Austin. She's under my desk, and then Bruce. He's just wandering around. Hopefully, he ain't peed on anything, but still. But no, I'm really excited because it's just the fact of fleshing out the story, just giving Boba more story, more visual story.
Yeah,
so I think that's what I'm excited about.
Well, what's interesting to see is he talks specifically about The Empire Strikes Back and not just Return of the Jedi, where he falls in the Sarlacc pit. So, where he's been since Empire Strikes Back is kind of being covered in the comic book series War of the Bounty Hunters by Charles Soule. And I actually have the first couple episodes. First couple issues. Thank you. I'm not a comics person, okay? Y'all know this about me. But so I have the first couple issues. I have the alpha ones, and because it's kind of crossing over all of the Star Wars comic books. So Afra's being involved, the Star Wars comics being involved, Bounty Hunters is being involved, and there's one other I think, but I can't think of it. So there's those, and then there's the actual comic book series by Charles Soule. And so the first issue came out, and that actually covers so obviously Boba has Han at the end of Empire Strikes Back. He actually loses him before he gets to Jabba.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm going to go into a spoiler. But I think you like this spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
And I spoiled this for myself because I haven't read it yet either. But so Kira actually appears in the last couple panels of the War of the Bounty Hunter series 1, issue 1. So Kira is making her way back in with Crimson Dawn. So we know, okay, so 5 years before A New Hope, we get Solo. And then now for Empire Strikes Back. So she survived this long as the head of Crimson Dawn. What do you think about that?
That's interesting. It's just, dude, I'm just along for the ride, honestly. I mean, it's I'd love to read the stuff. I love to kind of know where it's going, but it's just the way, all these other authors have taken this canon and just explored it. I just think it's awesome. I don't know. It's like not to change gears or anything, but it's just like Thrawn. I mean,
yeah,
I've ventured out. I've learned more about him, and I'm just like, oh, give me more. But yeah, the fact that she's still with the Crimson Dawn. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, that's just it's just more fleshing out. That's what's so great about it. Because think about how many times you watch something or you read something, and you're like, okay, what happens to this character? What happens?
Yeah. Exactly. And that's, I think, where most people were kind of curious at the end of Solo was, okay, where's Kira going? Where's Enfys Nest going?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's where a lot of people have been wanting that Solo 2, make Solo 2 happen, is because there's so many stories there that kind of feel left off. Yeah. But in regards to Kira showing back up in War of the Bounty Hunters, apparently it got back to Emilia Clarke, and somebody asked her and said, hey, so Kira has shown back up in this comic. What do you think about that? And Emilia was like, I think that's great. I think it's, I can't find the exact quote, but it was like, I think it's great that she's coming back, that people still love her. I can't wait to see what happens next, kind of thing. So she's still really invested in the character, I
Yeah,
think.
that's what I'm saying. It's like nice if you could step back into it. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Because she has been cast in what was it, Secret Invasion or Secret Wars, the Marvel show. So
uh-huh.
she's already coming to a Disney Plus show. So Disney,
They made the offer. If
I
the
don't see
offer's
why
right,
not.
I know, right?
All right, so switching gears, to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Oh, I don't want to do that. I want to share screen. This one. Thank you, Star Wars Newsnet, for always being where I go for Star Wars news. So we have Ewan McGregor right here in his nice shiny face mask, and you see we have some Jedi robes. And we got the boots. So I don't know who that is. Oh, nope, that doesn't have a name either. So it obviously there's nothing big here, like other than we've got a Star Wars member drinking LaCroix. I love LaCroix. I don't know why, y'all. I'm just in the most random place today. Um, so it's just good to see movement on this. I think we've heard so much about this, from it being a a movie to a show, and then not happening, and then happening, and then casting and delays, and now he's in the freaking Jedi robes. We're happy.
It's kind
So
of like one of those things you always say. It's like, just for example, like the Flash movies. Like, you can hear everything. Everybody's always talking about it, but until they're literally on set filming and it's almost in the can, I don't believe it.
yeah.
Because we have heard about this for how long? I mean, it was before
Yeah.
COVID hit, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's been anywhere. Like, it was rumored as a movie, probably. I think it was rumored as a movie when Disney first bought Star Wars.
Yeah, that's
So
what I
it's
mean.
been
It's like
over 6 years of kind of development on this.
yeah, and it was always like, you just didn't know where it was going. And now you have this.
Yeah.
But isn't this kind of tying into another movie or another series as well? Seems like I remember seeing something about that. You haven't talked about the next one yet. So I remember seeing
No.
something. So that might be a nice little tie-in. Not to skip ahead, but
Yeah, we're gonna get to that, but I don't
okay.
think there's been any rumors of other things being attached to this. I think. I don't know. The next thing I kind of have is, so Liam Neeson was interviewed by Jimmy Kimmel
Mm.
on for his new Netflix movie, The Ice Road, and was asked directly if he's going to appear in the series. To which Liam Neeson responded, "I heard Ewan McGregor was going to do a series. No, I don't think so. No, I haven't been approached." We all know actors lie about this kind of stuff. And I just think it makes complete sense to have Qui-Gon appear, because in the end, like, we know, obviously, so Force Ghost, Liam Neeson's character Qui-Gon Jinn kind of starts that off and has found kind of the path to being a Force Ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So when Yoda and Obi-Wan go into hiding, so Yoda goes to Dagobah, Obi-Wan goes to Tatooine,
Mm-hmm.
they're specifically like, okay, you're gonna meet with Qui-Gon. He's gonna train you how to do this stuff. Like, you're gonna be enveloped in studies while you're doing, while you're like protecting and hiding. So there's no reason Qui-Gon can't appear. So
I, like I said, I mean, I feel like there may be something back there, because I mean, it's just hard for me to believe that he wouldn't be at least approached or something. I mean, but I mean, you never know. I mean, look at Mandalorian. I mean, we were like
yeah.
super surprised, and they kept that under wraps for so long.
I would have never expected Mark Hamill to come in and do that. So
No,
yes, you're
absolutely
right.
not. Even after as much as he was adamant about that he was done.
Yes, he specifically said after episode 9 came out, he has in the past he's done like a may the X date
Mm-hmm.
be XYZ. So like may the 4th be with you. So on the 9th, on May 9th, after episode 9 came out, he said, May the 9th be the last time I ever play Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Disney may have rolled out the cash cart, and that's something else that the Star Wars News Net article says is that Liam Neeson made a hand gesture that was like, Disney can't afford me kind of thing.
Be surprised.
But I'm telling you, to get Mark Hamill back, there must have been a lot of money exchanged.
Yes.
So
they backed up the truck on that one.
no. So I think it's possible. So the next pieces of news that you were insinuating about. So for Star Wars Andor, uh, first of all, Forrest Whitaker has agreed to reprise his role as Saw Gerrera. That has pretty much been confirmed. Um, so obviously he appeared in Rogue One. He's the first Star Wars character to appear in multiple forms of media. So he's appeared in games, TV shows, movies, and books. So he's the first one to kind of cross over all of those. So it was Stellan Skarsgård who spilled it while talking with a Swedish radio, Severgis. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. The Reddit Star Wars leaks pulled it from the podcast. So there's that, and then there's a rumor that Ben Mendelsohn will possibly be appearing as Orson Krennic in Andor, which this was from the direct, which I would say is probably one of the more C-tiered sites when it comes to exclusives. But they've had some polls that they've done, so this is probable. So what do you think about both of these returning?
Well, I mean, I think Forrest Whitaker, I think that's pretty key. I mean, that's within that timeline, within that one little bubble of whatnot. I mean, it's because Rogue One was such a great Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
And you want to know more about them. I mean, and like I said, I mean, I have no problem going backwards, staying in the present, or going forwards. I have no problem. Take me any direction you wish. So I think.
So you like prequels, huh?
Yes, I do. Yes, and I have made my statement on that very clear because I feel like sometimes you need prequels for the whole story to get the whole. Lord Travis is probably gonna get me on that one, but. But
I don't care.
And that's just the way I roll because it's like, if you have this great story and you want to know more about the characters, I mean, how else are you going to find out? You always want to find out what is their motivation? Why are they doing what they're doing? With like Cassian Andor, he was like or at least for me, it was his character. I was like, oh man, this shady little dude here. But then it's like, as the movie progressed, you're like, man, there's something going on with this guy. There's got to be more to it. So that's why I love prequels. I love that. So.
Don't necessarily mind them. They have to tell a.
Well, they can't be fluff. Yeah, I mean,
they can't be fluff.
Yeah,
which is what I feel like Black Widow is, which is why I'm like. So that's my thing on that. So this doesn't feel like fluff to me because where he ends up, sure, but there's also so much more to Cassian Andor's story, and I think because we know I was going to say Forrest Whitaker is the character. No, Saw Gerrera was initially a part of the whole rebellion. And then they split off because Saw Gerrera was like, no, we need to take more like militaristic tactics. And Mon Mothma was like, no, we need to stay.
She
wanted to kind of. she didn't want violence if she could help it.
And she
So
was
we
more
know that.
diplomatic.
So I think this is a good opportunity to kind of show that split, and kind of see how it happens,
Because
because
you always have these different factions, and so we're so used to seeing, like I said, the diplomatic view of it. With Mon Mothma, and then with Leia taking over and all that kind of stuff. So it's always been diplomatic. You got all this, but now Saw he's like, no, we're going to do it this way. This is how they understand it. It's like with force. So I mean that'll be it's just an interesting take. It's a different, like I said, it's a different path to look at. So
yeah. Ben Mendelsohn appearing isn't a huge stretch to me, especially because he's a key character in the MCU right now, and he will be a part of Secret Invasion, which is another Disney Plus show. So that's again not a huge stretch for me to see that happening. However, I see less of a role for him in this show than I do for Saw Gerrera.
right.
Be and we've seen set photos that have characters wearing uniforms similar to what he's wearing in Rogue One. So clearly something's going to happen, but at the same time, is there a better spot to do it instead of just saying, oh, this is just Rogue One prequel completely? Like, I would have
I
liked
don't
to see
think
more of the
that.
rebellion.
Yeah, I don't think that. I just think with Rogue One, it just gave you another side of the rebellion. It kind of gave you another, I guess, another view.
Right.
So it could
But
take the whole thing and then put, but it just kind of focused on those. So maybe with this series, it'll open it up more so you can see more of the inner workings, the machinations of it.
right, but what I'm saying is for like director Krennic, because he oversees the production of the Death Star. I don't think his character needs to be here, because it it feels kind of like what Clone Wars season 7 is to the Bad Batch. It's like the
Well,
Bad
maybe it's just
Batch.
that connection, just trying to connect this, like this series to maybe Rogue One, just kind of like a connection.
Yeah, and
But
I get that, but at the same time, I think this era has definitely been explored enough, and maybe this is a good thing that we're not getting an Imperial prequel Rogue One and a Rebellion prequel Rogue One, and then they're mashed together. But then that also worries me because of the split of developing characters, and yeah. So
well, my
we'll
question
see
to
how
you
it goes.
is this is my question to you. Since we've talked about Kenobi and now we talked about Cassian Andor, which one do you think is going to be more successful? Which one do you think is probably going to get more viewership?
I think Obi-Wan is going to get more viewership, specifically because his character has been developed more. I think the Andor show, being that they're already planning for it to go more than one season, will be long term more successful. But up front, Obi-Wan Kenobi is going to be more successful because, like, Alan Tudyk, who plays K2SO, won't be appearing in season 1. But they have talked about him appearing in future seasons. So they're kind of already developing that storyline to kind of say, okay, where can I go from here? Like, so I think long term, you've got Andor that's going to be more successful.
Absolutely.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. It's like with Mandalorian, because it's you kind of brought this character in, but I mean, you really didn't know that much about him. And like I said, the only thing you know about Cassian Andor is from Rogue One. So that's I think it's cool. It's kind of like where Marvel's kind of taken just an example, like Guardians. That was kind of like a little rogue type group, but I mean, it was super successful, and I mean, it really took off. And I'm hoping that's the way Andor is. Just kind of take this one character and just flesh him out a little bit more, or even the the world he's in at that point in time. And I think that's what's so great. I mean, give me little snippets of time. I mean, let me know, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on.
There's 19 years between 19 years between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. So there's plenty they can talk about. But
Absolutely.
I do also agree with other people in which I would like to start seeing other eras being developed, which is why I think The Mandalorian, Ahsoka is a good option to kind of further expand our timeline out towards the sequel trilogy instead of just sticking with this A New Hope.
But then also, which may be something we talk about a little bit later, if we go back a little bit further back, that might
Yes,
be something fun to explore as
we
well.
can talk about that.
Yes.
All right, let's wrap up the news and then take our first ad break. The last, well, okay, we have two things. So Taika Waititi is hoping that his Star Wars movie is his next project. Right now, he's currently filming, or he's currently wrapped, production on Thor 4, which I can't remember the subtitle for that, but
Love and
anyways,
Thunder.
yeah. So they're going into post-production on that. There's really not much more to that. Patty Jenkins' film is, which is Rogue Squadron, is currently the next film, Star Wars film that has a theatrical debut date, which is late 2025. So we don't have a current date for Taika's project, but that could mean that Disney has a date planned if he's hoping it's his next project.
Right.
So it's really all there is there. And then the last bit, kind of, Pedro Pascal has talked about how Mandalorian season 3 hasn't started filming yet, which that kind of surprises me after how many rumors we got about production starting or being in pre-production. The Book of Boba Fett has been said to be The Mandalorian season 2.5, which I don't like. I want that to be about
a standalone, kind of its own.
Yeah, I want it to be Boba Fett and Ming-Na Wen. Maybe a couple snippets here or there from like Mandalorians, like he had Bo-Katan run into Boba Fett like during Empire Strikes Back. Get some more on that, sure. But I don't like how they're like, oh yeah, this is like your stand-in. Well, if it's the stand-in, then just say Mandalorian season 2.5 instead of Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's my take on that. And I think Pedro Pascal saying Mandalorian season 3 is not filming yet, we all know he doesn't spend that much time in the suit. Like, he spends some time, sure, but most of his time is spent in the suit. Most of the Mandalorian on scene that we get is actually stunt doubles. So they could be filming and he could just be like, I haven't started filming yet.
Yeah, maybe he just hasn't done his part yet.
Yeah, which is absolutely fair. And he's like he's like wanted from everything right now. The Last of Us TV show for HBO Max is supposed to start filming this summer. So I do believe Mandalorian's going to be more delayed. This article says it's supposed to start filming late 2021, early 2022. So I could see production like standing out, but I think we're gonna get. I would think we were gonna get the Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian season 3, and/or Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Ahsoka, because we haven't gotten any word on production for Ahsoka yet, and I know Rosario Dawson's wrapped in that character. So, but again, this is what happens. They're using the same set for Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Book of Boba Fett, and the Mandalorian, and we don't know if Ahsoka's going to be using it. Andor is filming in England right now. That's probably the only reason it's not using the same set design. That little bubble where they just do a bunch of CGI in it.
Yeah.
So this is what happens when you announce 10 shows to occur.
You gotta make sure everything. You gotta have your scheduling.
Yeah, and I'm like, if you're gonna have more than 2 shows use the same set, and then especially with COVID, I would say, okay, I need to start designing. I need to start building another set to use. Wouldn't you?
You would think so. I mean, but I don't know. I mean, with the technology, with that green screen thing that they have, I mean, there's a lot they can do with it. I mean, maybe it's a little more versatile than like a traditional set. I don't know. I mean, it was really cool seeing how they did that.
Yeah, it's definitely really cool.
I just hate they
I
haven't
just think,
overbooked.
yeah, and these shows are making you money right now, and I'm like chomping at the bit. Give me some Star Wars Disney Plus material, please.
Oh
Like,
Lord, yes.
yes, we have the Bad Batch right now, but Visions is supposed to be coming next, and then you've got like Book of Boba Fett. They're done filming. We haven't seen any promotional material for that, and
No.
that's supposed to be coming 6 months from now.
Oh
So,
wow. I better get on that.
but like Visions is supposed to be coming after the Bad Batch, so it's supposed to be coming like August, September-ish. The book for Visions, which is entitled Ronin, is supposed to be published in October.
Oh,
And it's based on Visions stuff.
yeah.
So you'd think, okay, Ronin is going to come out after the Vision show, which means, depending on how many episodes they have, they need to start. It needs to start probably like August.
Yeah. Because I mean, if you figure what, let's say what 6 or 8 episodes.
Yeah.
I mean,
So
normally
that
that's
8 episodes is 2 months.
yeah, exactly. So I'm like, get on it now.
I just want them to take a book out of Marvel's page and realize you can promote more than one show at once.
Yes, yes. Our little brains can comprehend. We can handle this. We can handle it. So we want more content. I mean, give it to us.
But
But
that about covers us on news.
what was that one little other? Did we talk about the one other little tidbit that I? Did you see the thing about the rumor about possibly Obi-Wan showing up in Andor? Did you see something
I
like
think
that?
that's possible.
Now, I mean, I don't know how
I hadn't
credible this
seen it.
I saw, but I mean, it was kind of like rumors I was looking at. I was like, I mean, I'm not
I
quite
have not
sure.
seen it directly, but I think I've said it on a previous podcast episode where I was like, it's perfectly possible for them to
Hmm.
have a crossover because there's on the timeline, they're listed at the exact same spot
Yeah,
on Disney's official timeline. So I think it could happen.
and and that
But
might be something that us, Star Wars folk, that's maybe what we want to kind of start seeing now. The fact of you have all these timelines. I don't want to say timelines, but you have all these um, things going on. Why not have them cross paths? I mean, it
yeah,
is in the same galaxy.
you're
I
already
mean,
booked for one show. Might as well make a cameo in another. Come on, man.
exactly. Show how okay this is happening at the same time. Instead because sometimes it does feel like it's something totally different. It's almost like I hate to keep going back to Marvel, but I mean, they're kind of good about. It's like when you have the events of the Avengers, but you still have like with Guardians, it's still going on at the same time. It's just two
Yeah.
separate locations.
Yeah.
And I'm to the point now, I'm like, let me see this. That's how it was kind of cool with the end of Rogue One. It went, you have this story for these particular characters, and it goes directly into, A New Hope. It's like that. So that's like one tie-in you have. I'm like, I want some more
Yeah.
tie-ins. Just show that these people know who they are. At some point, they do cross paths.
Yeah.
I just think it makes it more interesting. It's more of a tie-in. It just kind of draws you in a little bit more to realize it's the same galaxy, but you have all these
Mhm.
different little stories within. Let's start weaving it together, just a hair. I mean, it's to me, it just makes it more interesting. It kind of draws you in a little bit for.
For me, I think that's a double-edged sword because you can go like this is and this is something I think I talked about with Nathan last week where kind of the MCU is kind of one specific area of time and that's all it's ever been in comics and shows and everything else. So it's really like bubbled at one specific time, which makes sense while you get a lot of crossover.
Mm-hmm.
But then with Star Wars, like the High Republic that's going on right now, that's 200 years in the past before the
Oh, I get
Phantom Menace.
that. I get that.
So it's like, but yes, I would agree with you in like specific bubbles of time. So like the
Mm-hmm.
19 years, I think it's definitely possible you say, okay, we've got this character. Like this is someone the fans love. Let's bring him in here or here or here.
Just kind of show that it's like this tapestry that's woven. Just kind of show some of the the tangled threads. Just just a little bit, because I mean you feel like it's especially when you're talking about Jedi. I'm like, let's see some more Jedi. Let's see some more. I mean that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would, however, caution because a lot of the prominent Star Wars people have been in like reporters and fans right now, like on Twitter that I follow, have been engrossed in Star Wars for a while to where they were even engrossed with Legends. But one of their biggest issues with Legends is A, that sometimes it goes a little wonky.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then B, like once you get to A New Hope, you only get books about the Skywalkers or
Mm-hmm.
or Han Solo or Lando. So you don't see a lot of smaller characters. You have like I think there's one big series in after A New Hope in the Legends books, which is the X-Wing series, which
Mm-hmm.
follows Wedge Antilles, Tycho Kelchu, and then you have like Rogue Squadron there. So it follows a lot of them. And then you have the Wraith Squadron books, which is a spin-off of the X-Wing Rogue Squadron series. So that was a lot of people's biggest issues. It's like this is a galaxy, not.
Mm-hmm.
And I love these books. I love these
Mm-hmm.
books to death. Like I, I'm dying for more Luke Skywalker content in canon. Like I want to see a book series about him trying to build a Jedi Academy.
Mm-hmm.
So I, that's all I'm saying is I'm like
Well,
trying to share a different perspective
well,
of
case in
other
point
people.
too. Like
So
I said, it's like with the Throne series. It was, oh God, which one was it? I don't know if it was Throne. It's the book Throne itself, where towards the end it mentioned like Anakin Skywalker, and I was like, Throne, knowing Anakin Skywalker. Oh my gosh, it's just like, and it was just a tidbit. I mean, it wasn't really
yeah,
anything that was major, but it was just like, okay, they are in like the same. They are within that same tapestry. I think that's what I get.
yeah,
Not I'm not looking for like major interactions or anything like that, but it's just I don't know. It's just cool just to have those, even with characters that you do recognize. Just to kind of show that, yeah, for having Anakin having some kind of conversation or exposure to Thrawn, you're just like, whoa, that's kind of crazy, because you don't really,
yeah.
because Thrawn's such a cool character, and I will I will never forget that because, sorry, chasing a squirrel here, but it's like when the first
Womp
was
rat. This is a womp rat.
Watt Rat. Okay, but it's funny because when I first met Thrawn in Rebels, and I remember saying, it's like, this guy Nathan's like, don't you talk shit about Grand Admiral Thrawn. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And now I'm like, okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I know more now. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm saying. It's just those little, it's like minute detail interactions. That's the only thing I look forward to. It's just
Yeah.
like not necessarily let's have a grand 2 episodes, but I just like that, like I said, that interaction just to kind of bring it all together, I guess.
Well, then, like, I'll give you an example. So, like, in some of these books, so obviously, like, so I'm a big Mara Jade person. Like, if you see on a video game, Mara Jade as a username or like a name of a character, it might be me. So like I did it on, and my sister convinced me to play a game, and I used Mara Skywalker as my name. So I'm like, I'm a Mara Jade person. So when they like fall in love and get married and stuff, like I I remember specific books where they have like specific romantic scenes and it's like touching moments and I look for those. And it's a weird parallel, yes, but like I remember the books and I like scroll through and I'm like, no, it wasn't here. Oh, it was like 30 pages up, and then I just read it sometimes. That's what I used to do as a kid because that was as much like romance as my mom would let me get.
Yeah.
And my mom was like, "Oh, these are Star Wars books. There's no way that stuff's in there." I'm like, "Hey, what?" And, like, "It was." And, like,
There might be a little.
paragraph. Is it like? So it's like I knew where to look for those. And I think that's why like a lot of the newer canon stuff that I'm drawn to is like the romance stuff. So like Lost Stars by Claudia Gray. Killer, like much better Romeo and Juliet thing. But before we get into that, because I got two questions right here, and I really need to take an ad break. Snell's gonna kill me. So we'll be right back, y'all. And 3, 2, 1. And we are back. Thanks for paying attention to podcast magic, those who are watching. And I just appreciate y'all if y'all listen to the ad. Sarah does too. We all appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So, books, comics, and more is the title of this next segment, which I just came up with on the fly. We have two questions. So I want to start off with John Hazelton's question, who asked us on Twitter. He said, I want to start reading some Star Wars comics and books, but unsure where to start. Suggestions. So, Sarah, as the new person to Star Wars books, what would you recommend him?
Well, first of all, it just depends on what you're interested in. The reason I say that is because Thrawn, that was the first one I got into. So but that's the way I work. It's like, I'll pick a character. I'm like, okay, well, I want to know a little bit more about this character. Now, I don't want the guys to kill me, but I don't really read comics as much.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I'm like, but it's like you just kind of pick your character, and it's just whatever it's because right now, I mean, we're talking about the Legends books. I mean, I've got this is Heir to the Empire. I've kind of
the OG.
Yeah, I mean, well, I kind of start, and I mean, I'm only into it about this far, but I've got the other two because it's a 3-book series.
Yep.
Which is really cool because it's, let's see, 5 years after Rebel Alliance restored the Death Star. So, it's, you kind of like get either pick your character or pick where you want to go with it. And then also you've got like the Throne. I know this is Greater Good, but you also have, what's Chaos Rising? Isn't it the first one?
Chaos Rising is the first one, and that's the prequel trilogy to the actual Thrawn trilogy. So this is called the Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy.
Yes.
It's still by Timothy Zahn.
He's amazing.
And honestly, if you're going to pick Thrawn up, I think you start with this series versus the original trilogy era trilogy for Thrawn, which is Thrawn Alliances, and Thrawn Treason. I think this gives you a much better introduction to the characters you're going to see. I know it didn't come out that way, but this is the first time since I think Timothy Zahn said it was the first time in several years he was asked for a trilogy up front. So the Thrawn original trilogy series was never meant to be a trilogy. They said, oh, this is popular, so let's add another book. Oh, let's add another book. So I think if you start with this, and this is a trilogy, but the third book is supposed to come out in November. So if you start now, you've got time to finish the first two and then jump into the third one, and then you have a completed trilogy to follow after. What do you think about that? I know you haven't started Greater Good yet, but
no, I'm actually this far into it, so it's not too bad. Yeah, I'm really liking this trilogy because it's like the characters in it. I'm thinking, I'm starting to kind of like curious. I'm like, Thrawn, what you got going on there, buddy? But anyways, yeah, I mean, I think this is really great because if you kind of latch on to Thrawn, because honestly, my first, like watching Rebels, that was, my first introduction to him. And it was like I was saying, but it's based on reading Chaos Rising and the first for the other Thrawn, like, was it Thrawn? Yeah, I got the book upstairs. That was like 2 totally different books. It was like 2 totally different views. So, I mean, but what I like about the Ascendancy is because you learn more about the Chiss themselves. It's not just Thrawn. I mean, you kind of...
Right, which is where I think starting with this one allows you to accept what's going on in the Thrawn book a little bit better
Mm-hmm.
because you're learning about the Chiss ascendancy and how it works.
Mm-hmm.
That because I got a lot of questions from people who started with Thrawn. Obviously, that one came out first, but like
Mm-hmm.
they were like, "Why am I reading? Like, why is he talking like this? Or like, why is he doing things the way he does?"
Mm-hmm.
Like as they're going through the book. But I think if you start with this, you kind of get that and understand. So
Mm-hmm.
that's my perspective. I think Nathan disagrees with me. I think he's like, no, you start with this trilogy and then you go here. We'll
It
put
all
a poll
depends
on
on which
Twitter.
direction you want to do, because it's almost like the ascendancy is almost like a prequel to Throne.
Yeah.
So in this
Which is what it's
instance,
supposed to be. Because uh like the whole reason Thrawn goes, and we're diving into spoilers here, John, so I'm sorry. Uh but the whole reason Thrawn goes to the Empire is to kind of gauge them and kind of see, okay, what are you capable of? Can you help us as a Chiss
mm-hmm.
ascendancy?
Which
So,
I think the Chiss is like a really cool like
right?
group of. I mean, what do you even call them? I mean, like a race. I mean, I
Yeah,
just
they're
think
a race.
blue skin, red eyes. I'm like, oh yeah. I'm like, that's just
Yeah.
her. So I
So
think.
I think for me, if you want to delve into Thrawn as a character, I think you need to read both trilogies. However,
Mm-hmm.
I would start with Thrawn Ascendancy to kind of get a better perspective. But I'm gonna put a poll on Twitter and we're gonna share this, and then you can find out there who thinks what. So,
But
um,
but like in the same token, it's a lot of these legend books. I mean, they're. I mean, obviously, I
I
don't
love
have
this
as much.
book.
Which one is that?
This is Heir to the Empire,
Yeah,
like
and I
the
was
one
just
you're
like,
holding. Like I took this book with me, and this is how much I read in line at the voting line to go vote last year. Like that was
yeah.
bad, but I like it's well worn. Like the edges, like this was brand new when I bought it, and I've just read it that many times. Um,
Yeah, this has
if
been
you're
on a couple of
looking,
planes with me, so I mean, I was like, I'll get it finished eventually.
yeah, if you're looking for a canon book to start with, again, it as Tom likes to say on the Del Rey Star Wars Twitter, when people ask where they should start, he's like, "Well, what are you looking for?"
Mm-hmm.
So, canon Star Wars has opened up into a lot of different genres. My probably favorite book is Phasma so far, for kind of that perspective on a story, as well as kind of like the action. It feels like your typical Star Wars book. Lost Stars by Claudia Gray is a great option if you're looking for some romance. Uh, uh, there's
Well,
another good one by
you,
Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry, because you've even recommended like the Padme books.
Yes, Padme is a good one. I really like those. Uh, Uh, they're kind of a more mixed neutral, but still give you that perspective on kind of the political side of Star Wars, but also open up the Naboo culture.
Well, then
Um,
also for me too, because like based on the films, I'm not a big Padme fan. But
right.
you were saying these books would actually give you more depth to her character. So it's a little
Yes.
more understanding, because I realize she's more of a political figure versus, Anakin's other half. So, I mean, you know.
Yeah. Um, and there's yeah. So I really like Queen's Peril
Mm-hmm.
in terms of providing more perspective to Padme's character as in the Phantom Menace. Like I think that opens her up a lot. And it kind of shows the handmaid's perspective. It also kind of delves into opens up like why Padme is telling I can't even remember her name. Um Padme
Yeah.
tells Sabe, who is dressed as the queen,
Mm-hmm.
we are brave, your highness. And that was a code word that they developed as the kind of double role. So when Padme was out of the queen's attire, she could still communicate to whoever was doubling for her and go, "Oh no, this is the direction we're taking instead of this."
Mm-hmm.
So
But
it's
our
kind of
case in
cool.
point, but our case in point is if there's a storyline that you want to follow, if there's a character that you really want to know more about, that's pretty much how you can
Yes.
help you choose which book or comic or whatnot to go into? Because there's a ton of stuff out
Um,
there.
the Darth Bane book, this is the first one, Path of Destruction. It is probably the second most,
Hmm.
not probably not the second most, but outside of the um A New Hope forward era, this is probably my most read book. I'd actually never read, I still haven't read the book 2 and book 3. I'm working my way through Legends in chronological order. So I'm on this one, Fatal Alliance. Uh, Not a huge fan right now, but it's getting there.
I think I have like a bunch of like long list on my like Amazon save for later carts.
Well, and then the other thing I would say is you definitely have to be careful with what you're reading. So a
Hmm.
lot, and this is not a throw on anyone. Like some of these books are very well loved by a lot of readers. This is just the way I read, the way I prefer my books. So if you're looking into more of Return of the Jedi forward in canon, there is a lot of books that develop kind of a different perspective and go into a lot of detail. Um, Case in point, Chuck Wendig's Aftermath trilogy. It is very hard to read for me. Like I have probably read book 1 like 2 or 3 times and didn't finish it. I finally finished it the fourth time, but it took me a lot to get through it just because there's so much detail
Hmm.
and it just kind of is boring. Um, the other thing that they've tried to do is they do a lot of different perspectives in books. Case in point, Alexander Freed's Alphabet Squadron, which I just finished Victory's
Hmm.
Price last night. Um, and there is anywhere from 3 to 7 perspectives at any point in this book. So it does like have a marker where it switches you to a different perspective, but try like there was 8 different people story told in this. And
Wow.
when you're flipping between chapters, that's really hard to keep track of. Like it's one thing if it's a full chapter and then you switch to a different perspective and kind of get it, and then you're like, oh, okay, I'm getting a full story. And this is it's not a bad book. It's just the perspectives really throw me for a loop. And
It
I'm
also
actually
happens
going
when
to
you have different writers as well, because everybody has their own.
right. Well, and this trilogy is written all by Alexander Freed. So the whole trilogy is like this. And I'm
Hmm.
actually going to write an Alphabet Squadron trilogy review just to kind of talk about it because it's not a bad book. It's just
A
the
lot.
perspective switching is really key. And it's hard to get through. And Nathan said the same thing about Alphabet Squadron book 1.
Hmm.
So it kind of all depends on where you're ready to read and what you're looking for. I definitely can't recommend Heir to the Empire trilogy enough. Like this is great. Another good trilogy in yeah. Revan is another good book that I really enjoyed. It definitely once I
That was
still
my
haven't.
first. That was my first Star Wars book I read. Revan was the
Yes,
first one. So
it's a very good book, and it actually once I actually want to get into Knights of the Old Republic now and just kind of at least watch the cutscenes and kind of see like more to the story because
hmm.
this is really all you get about Revan. Actually, this book has it has one of his kids or like one of his ancestors in it. So there's a lot of cool stuff in Legends. But if another good one in like a New Hope era forward is the Jedi Academy trilogy by I think it's Kevin Anderson, and I recommended that one to Nathan. But that one is really cool. Another one I really enjoy. Um, Comics wise, I'm not a huge comic person. Sarah, you're not either. Um, I've done a little bit of reading into the High Republic Marvel one. However, I've kind of dropped off of it because I'm reading so much right now. But I do have, I think it's called a trade on order. So when it comes out in the little paperback, I do have that on order. So I'll get that in August and then I'll read the full
Hmm.
series 1 then. I don't know these terms like
I
So
know the guys kind of lose me on that too, but I'm just like, I can follow. I can follow.
kind of follow and then kind of don't. Like it is what it is. So that one I really enjoyed kind of the startup of it. And as I've said previously, with the High Republic, what they did, what the intention was is every medium, every different story weaves in to tell a big one. But if you stick with the Marvel comic, if you stick with the adult book, the young adult book, you will get one complete story throughout. So if you only read the adult book, which starts with The Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule, and then the next one is The Rising Storm by Kevin Scott. So that will tell you a complete story. So if you wanted to kind of dive into a comic, there's been a lot of cool stuff with the High Republic Marvel one because I've spoiled myself on it with a couple of different storylines. And then if you're interested in another comic, Nathan always highly recommends the Darth Vader series by Charles Soule. A lot of people really love that one. Another good one I think that's come is one we've already talked about. It's War of the Bounty Hunters, and Charles Soule writes that one as well. That one kind of dives into Boba Fett as he's trying to get Han Solo back. So there's been an alpha issue, which is kind of like the prequel, and then there's issue 1 is out. So both of those you can kind of check out and kind of see if you want to continue with it. But that's kind of a general list of recommendations there. So yeah, great question, John. I always love those questions because I get to nerd out.
You can. Well, it's the same thing I've asked you guys, like what many moons ago.
Yeah.
I was like, where do I need to start? I think I was like in Barnes and Noble. I was like, all right. I think I sent a pic. I don't know if maybe it was Nathan. I was like, which one I start with? He's like, that one. I was like, okay.
Well, so my hair appointment is Friday, and it's right by Books A Million. And I haven't been to Books A Million in a while, so I'm gonna go into Books A Million and like I'm gonna have a list of like which Legends books I'm missing and which canon books I'm missing, and see if I can't. Because I paid off my student loans.
Oh, congratulations, my dear. Yes, that is yes.
So I'm like rewarding myself.
Have you read the Ahsoka book?
Yes, I have.
Is it any good?
So it kind of depends on who you're asking. So I really enjoy it, but I also really enjoy the way E.K. Johnson writes her books.
Mm-hmm.
It does have some snippets from the Siege of Mandalore in there, but they don't match up to what is in the Clone Wars season 7.
Okay.
So you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, because it was written before the Clone Wars season 7 came out.
Well, the reason I asked, I'm actually looking at my Amazon list here of like the books I haven't just pulled the trigger on yet. So that's one of them. Of course, I got Queen's Shadow, Queen's Peril, and then I've got the 3 books of the Darth Bane trilogy. So yeah. I'm working on it.
And I think we're gonna end up doing a couple Darth Bane episodes, because I know like I'm gonna start reading them. I think I'm 3 books away from them, but I don't have any new canon books to read currently.
Well, just let me know, because it's summer. It's coming up on summer, so that's when I usually read a lot of my books, and laying out by the pool, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So. Oh, I'm jealous. I miss laying out by a pool. So I think we're gonna end up doing Darth Bane, maybe not next month, but maybe in August, or maybe late July.
I'll go ahead and get those.
So, and I think Clay was reading them too. The other thing I would say, and I'm going to end up buying these. I told myself I wasn't, but they're coming out with a like a key Legends book series, and the first 3 are Shatterpoint, which is a Mace Windu book, the Darth Bane first book, and then the Heir to the Empire book. So they're coming out, and they're going to be in the trade paperback format, but they've also got really cool artwork on them. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to be buying those. So I think they come out, I think I said they come out in July. So, but they're only coming out with the first books. So if you want to get your trilogy all in the same format, I'd go with this, because there's no guarantee they're going to come out like that.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and put these into my shopping cart. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that trilogy, though, because I just love having the I love this, especially
Yeah.
the small ones. Like you can just throw them in a bag and go.
Yeah.
So yes, we shall be talking about that.
Yes, definitely. So if you want to let us know when you want to hear that, because I could definitely probably skip a couple books. I want to read them chronologically, but also like with the old Republic books, I don't feel like you necessarily have to read them chronologically.
Yeah.
Is what it's felt like. So yes,
It
there
was
may be like
just
some
such a
key things.
disappointment. This is the only one for Revan, though.
I know.
I can't stand it. Because
Yeah.
that's which I guess it kind of goes into like the next question that we had, but because I've got a whole lot to say
Yes.
about that one. But
So, um, the next question we have is from Clay, who asked, Marvel and DC are very heavily influenced by comics, the medium in which they were birthed. Star Wars comics are starting to really ramp up in popularity, but there's no denying the larger fan base of Legends content. Which Legends book would you like to see adapted into animation or live action?
the
You'd
reason
like
I
to see a
say this,
trequel.
the reason about Revan is
Trequel.
because you were first, even with this book in the very beginning. Oh God, what was the guy's name? Um, anyways, because he was introduced in Knights of the Old Republic video game.
Hmm.
Well, I tried. My husband, he's the gamer in the family now, but behind my son. But anyways, so he tried to download that one, and I guess it's so old. He was just like, I
Yeah.
can't do this. I can't do this because that's really the only way that you can get like the story. Because in essence, that's where this comes from. It basically starts with that video game and it rolls over into this. So I'm like, that's what I need. I just need a Knights of the Old Republic starting from wherever it starts in that game, which I think I did like a little research on it just to kind of figure out what was going on because there's I can't even remember, but it's just weird because I'm so used to seeing Revan as this, this masked
Hmm.
character. So when you read this book and it's just like he's a dude, you're just like, and the way they described him too, I'm just like, oh, I want to see this guy. I need to see him, and especially the way this book ends and how it kind of goes. I'm like, I need more. I need more. It's very rare that I read a book and I'm mad when I get to the end of it because I'm like, I'm so mad. I was like,
I was
seriously,
too.
seriously, which I think you did send. I think Nathan and I texted. I think you read it. You're like, oh my god!
I
I
was
was
so mad. I
so
was like,
mad. I was like,
no.
no.
I would agree with you. So Revan, the reason Revan wears a mask is because initially, and y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but this is my understanding. The Knights of the Old Republic was a role-playing game. So the Revan character
Mhm.
was you. So because they just wanted to call him Revan.
Yeah.
They put him in a mask, and so at the very end you get like this dramatic reveal of like you're looking in the mirror and you see it's you as the bad guy. So that's my understanding of the video game, which is why he's in the mask. And technically like Revan was could be female, it could be male. It all depended on who you were. But
I
in the
get
book he's
that,
male.
but yes.
So
Yes. But I cannot remember. I suck. I need to read this again because it was him and another. If I saw it, I would know who it was. But anyways, they're the ones that go in and wreak all this havoc and destruction and whatnot.
Malik.
But he actually is it Malik? Maybe it is. I can't remember. But he came back. It's like he was a dark Jedi almost, but he came back, and that's what's so. It's just I need this. I just need this. Of all the other ones that I've come across, I mean, yes, I'd like to see more Thrawn. I would like to see more of a live action Thrawn. I think would be fantastic. Which I know that's kind of that's been in kind of discussion and whatnot because possibly with Ahsoka, with that series he may pop up. Because in light of the end of Rebels, which Greg, I'm calling you out, my friend. Watch Rebels. But hopefully, you can see him. But I mean, hands down across the board, it's going to be any of the Old Republic. I mean, I haven't read Bane, the Darth Bane series, but that might be another cool one. So I just think the older ones, because this is kind of, you're going back and it's just,
yeah.
I don't know. I want that.
So Bane has already come into like canon material. He's referred a lot. He's referred to a lot.
Mm-hmm.
As kind of the creator of the Rule of Two for the Sith. So I think Bane would be a really cool one to kind of delve into, provide a little bit of context. They haven't taken Legends beat for beat as of yet. So like even Thrawn is a little bit different than his Legends book. So you're never like, I wouldn't see Path of Destruction becoming movie 1. And then I can't even remember the next 2 books, but I have them on my shelf. I just didn't grab them. So book 2, movie 2, book 3, movie 3. I don't see that happening. I see them kind of taking the story and kind of developing it into their own. But really, I would say this would be your first R-rated Star Wars movie right here. Very good book. So that's my opinion. The other one I would say, and I think we're going to get a version of this, Heir to the Empire, but it's going to be it's going to be enveloped in the Disney Plus shows. And remember, in the I don't even remember what event it was, but Kathleen Kennedy said Rangers of the New Republic, which is no longer in development, Ahsoka and The Mandalorian would culminate in one big event.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is your event. A version of this.
Okay.
So I think we're gonna get Heir to the Empire. But I just think this storyline is so cool. And with what's his name? Joris Sabath. Where's my dramatist personae? Is it not in here? Oh, this is one of the books where they don't have it. The dramatist personae. This is what I was looking for.
Uh-huh.
It's not in there. But Joris is a really cool dark Jedi who I think could do a lot. And there's been some references to kind of the storyline already. So I just think it's gonna happen. Taking elements from it. And that's what Clay referenced with Marvel and DC. Heavily inspired. Doesn't have to be bang for bang. And I still want to see Mara Jade. She doesn't have to marry Luke Skywalker.
You want some version, some.
That is not the essence of her character. And I know what Tom said in our interview, which I can't believe it's almost been a year since that interview. Tom, we're gonna have you back. The way they choose to do Legends characters, because there's been a lot of Legends integration, like and I don't have my Thrawn book in front of me, of course, but Thrawn, you only see Thrawn in Legends after Return of the Jedi. His first appearance is Heir to the Empire. Mm-hmm. So by doing kind of the Thrawn trilogy inside the 19-year window, you're not crossing over with Heir to the Empire and ruining, quote unquote, ruining this book for people who've read this. Mm-hmm. The same thing with Thrawn Ascendancy. You don't ever get a prequel era Thrawn, so it's not crossing over any timelines and ruining stories. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yes.
So, and so that's kind of been the key thing with what was kind of my interpretation of what the story group's trying to do. They realize these characters are well beloved, but at the same time, they don't want to ruin any existing story.
Yeah, you don't want to like retell the, a different version. I mean, you want to kind of at least keep the same continuity, as far as like how it goes. Yeah. So that's what's so interesting, because it's like I said, I'm kind of going back and forth from this and this, and I'm trying to keep them separated. But I mean, but they're easy to pick back up. I mean, it's
what I've been doing, because like I've been going through and reading like the canon book, and then I read the Legends book because they're different.
Yes.
I'm not crossing over any characters because that would confuse me.
Which I don't think I've really got into too many canon books. I think the ones I've really been into are like more of the legends. So yeah, I guess it kind of depends on what what you're interested in. What you kind of.
Yeah. I definitely think you should start with Queen Shadow. I think you should read that. Um, Zoraida wrote a really good romance book that is set in the sequel era that I really think you'd like as well. So those would kind of be the two that I'd start with. And Queen Shadow, I might see if I can lend you that audiobook because maybe you read that on an audiobook before you buy it and
Mm-hmm.
like borrow it or something because you may not like it with your perspective on Padme, but
But it
I
may
think
change
it
my
would help.
perspective. It's like
I think it would
there's
help you.
some points in like the films. I'm like I can almost no, you just ruined it for me. But I mean that might have had more of the actress than the actual characters though.
Like Natalie Portman. So I don't know what's your deal with her.
I
um,
don't know. It's just there's just some folks that you're just like you kind of take me out of it, but
well, and so E.K. Johnston is getting to finish her Padme trilogy
mm-hmm.
with a book set kind of towards the end of Clone Wars. And it's going to have Anakin perspective and it's going to have Padme perspective. So that's kind of an option to get you the full Padme dealio.
like I said, maybe reading a character to me just is something totally different than actually seeing because I don't really have. I can generate my own perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So, but anyways, I'll give it a shot. I'll give it a shot.
I think it's worth it. And I'll let you borrow my Audible account if you want to give it a shot. So let me know. All right, but I think that concludes us on this portion of books, comics, and more. Tune in next time where we discuss I don't know what. So
It's like chasing those mop rats.
all
They'll
right,
throw a
so
pork in there every now and again.
yes. So we are gonna take our final ad break and come back to discuss Bad Batch episode 6 and 7. So stay tuned. And 3, 2, 1. And we're back. Thanks, y'all. Thanks for listening.
Still with us?
Do it.
It's like still with us because we're all over the place right now.
We've got one watcher according to StreamYard, so we appreciate you being here, whoever you are.
Yes, thank you very much.
And so, okay. So okay, so these we're just gonna dive right into it. These were probably the best episodes since episode 1. Would you agree? Disagree?
Well, it's the only time I've really given. I didn't get to discuss this Friday on SES, but I'm enjoying the series thus far. I think this is gonna sound really weird, but I think it's cute. I mean, it's when I say cute, I mean it's just I enjoy the fact that it's basically a continuation of, in essence, to me, feel like Clone Wars, even though it's after, but still, the last two have been a little more, a little better. I will say a little better. I mean, they feel like they have a little bit more substance to them because, I mean, I guess it's just the fact of you're throwing in some other characters that, like I said, it's like you're throwing in characters there. They're attaching it to other stories that you would assume that you've already, saw.
I want to jump on that. Because episode 6 really pissed me off. And it's not that it wasn't a good episode. It was a good episode. But after how much it took to get the Clone Wars season 7 going and how much it meant to people,
Uh-huh.
why does it fucking feel like Clone Wars season 7 was just a hey, here's a prequel for the Bad Batch. And don't get me wrong, this is not a dig on the Martez sisters. I really enjoyed the season 7 arc, and I really enjoyed this episode. And it's a downside of what we talked about earlier, kind of being in that same timeline bubble.
Mm-hmm. But if you had not seen that, previous, you would not know who they were. So, it's like that's the two sides to one coin. Like for us, we knew who they were. Hell, I expected to see Ahsoka pop out too, like, oh, there she is too. So, I mean,
and clearly who they were talking to at the end of the episode was Rex, because otherwise Rex wouldn't have known. So that answers that question, which to me, I think you could have drawn more mystery out by leaving Rex until like an episode or two and kind of saying, who the hell was Trace and Rafa talking to? And somebody pointed out on Twitter that the droid they had was R7, who, if you look back in the Siege of Mandalore, the final episode, they actually pull R7 and he's in pieces, and they pull him off. So they clearly put him back together. My thing is, how did Rex get this network together already of not really resistance, but resistance? Because as it's been, we don't know how much time it has been, but it's probably been a month since they crashed.
Yeah.
Just my perspective. Like, it really pisses me off that season 7 turned into the Bad Batch prequel. Like, I get having the backdoor pilot arc for them. Yeah. But did you really need to include the Martez sisters in this? Could you have not made it somebody else?
Like, I don't know. Like I said, maybe it's just reaching to kind of draw somebody in because, after, you're done with, Clone Wars and all that kind of thing, maybe that was just something that they used to kind of tie somebody back into it. Maybe it's like, okay, I'm going to go back and rewatch. Yes.
Can I have a big piece?
Yes.
Like a big
Eat the whole thing. I don't care.
For real?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to get you.
Sorry about that. But no, maybe it was just something to kind of tie it back into Clone Wars.
Maybe. To me, I'm thinking it cheapens the Clone Wars season 7, and B, they already have the art. They already have the art for the Martez sisters. They have the animations all done. So it feels cheap, basically, to me.
I mean, I see your point, but then, like I said, I mean, it's kind of something, kind of like a cyclical type thing. Maybe it's just kind of give an insight to, or if you have somebody, like I said, with the Bad Batch, it is kind of easy to kind of fall out of that. You watch Clone Wars, and it's been how long ago since it wrapped? When was the last episode? It was
last May.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I mean, maybe that. Okay, we're gonna put this little. Yes. So it's just wait. It's so maybe that's just like a little point to put in there. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna go back and watch, Clone Wars. Yeah. Maybe it's been some time where, sometimes people don't remember. I mean, Lord of mercy. Now, honestly, it did take me a couple of minutes to be like, is that what I think it is? Oh, it is. Yeah, because I got old brain. So, I mean, it is what it is. So, I mean, it's, it's two, like I said, it's kind of two sides of one coin. I feel, I see where you're coming from, because from the Clone Wars perspective. But then again, if you're looking at the Bad Batch, it just kind of throws it in to really tie, it's that one little woven piece of that tapestry. So.
Like, see, for me, I think a cool addition was, like, Kanan Jarrus being included in the beginning as Caleb, with Depa and everybody. I thought that was a cool tie-in.
Mm-hmm.
But just, like, to kind of see these go back to back and have them premiering it, like, almost the same times, kind of like a
Mhm.
couple months apart in a year. Like that just it's mad. But that I've gone in a circle about that. I really enjoyed episode both episodes.
Mhm.
Episode 6 was really good. I thought it was a cool introduction. It kind of shows where Wrecker's going because we've kind of seen with him having a headache.
Yeah.
Matt and I both called it and we were like, yeah, when's his chip gonna activate? Like, and
Yeah, that
obviously
was
in 7, in episode 7, we get that. We get him going down and then all of a sudden, boom, like he's got it. So
well, and that's the thing about it too, because it was. I think that was a discussion we had like the other week on. That's the only time I really get the SES. That's the only time I get to discuss it, anyways. But
well, you're more than welcome back here any day.
I know, and I probably should be, listening more to Travis and his crowd, but I just don't have time. I'm sorry, because I know they rehash a lot of the episodes as well. So it's kind of like my thing was, it's like, okay, dude keeps getting hit. I mean, it's just like, okay, for him, he's
gonna
like a
have it
straight up
eventually.
wrecker ball. I'm thinking, and then I think Clay made the statement. He's like, well, it's gonna be a shit. It's just, and then I'm like, you know what? That may be the case. That may be the
Yeah.
case. And it's interesting how it affected him, but it really hasn't affected the others. So I wonder what it was about him.
I think it mainly has to do with him hitting his head over and over again.
And it may
kind
just
of
have jarred it loose. I don't
it could have jarred it loose, but it also could have been like brain damage. Like because he's altered, it could have gotten his brain down to a point where it said, okay, I can now use the chip. And that's not to say the rest of the clones are dumb. That's just like,
well, I just think he's more of the brawn, not the brain. I mean,
yeah.
because
Well,
he looks
but
like
I
he's
think
been through quite a little bit. So, like, but the whole thing about this series, the whole thing, from start to where we are right now, what's so interesting to me is the relationship between Hunter and well, I can't remember the little girl's name. I hear it 1,000 times.
Omega.
Yes, Amiga. Their relationship is really interesting because, like, the other fellas, they're like, well, it's like, brothers. I'm like, no, he is her dad. And there is no way that you can, change my mind. It's just, it's almost like Hunter is like the dad. And then you have all the other dudes are like either like Wrecker's the brother, and Echo and Tech are like the weird uncles.
Yeah. For me, it just feels like a rehash of the Mandalorian storyline with the relationship between Hunter and Omega. Like it's literally just Omega is Grogu, a little bit older than Grogu, or not older, but like more functional than Grogu. And then Hunter is Din Djarin. So.
Well, and that's my thing too, because when are we going to finally figure out what her deal is? Because there's something about her, even if she's like a clone, or if she's force sensitive, or she's, there's something about her, and I'm ready to find out because I'm like, this little girl she's getting on my nerves. She's getting on my nerves. I guess it's her innocence. I'm like, are you really like that? Seriously?
Yeah. For me, I think I'm pretty much on the same page with you. I don't mind Omega, but at the same time, I'm like, who is she? Because she's not a Jango Fett clone. There's no way she's a Jango Fett clone. Because she's unaltered. So even if she was special, there's no way she would have grown up in time to where Jango wouldn't have known about her.
Yeah. So I'm curious, who is she a clone of? That's my question.
I really think they're tying this into the Mandalorian, and they're gonna say she was the first attempt at cloning Palpatine.
Oh, I've not thought about that.
I like it's probably the most basic answer other than Jango Fett clone, but I really think it's just a tie-in.
I don't know. It's just because now you want to find out why is she being hunted? Why are they after her? And I don't know.
Yeah.
There's just so many questions, and I'm like, I'm to the and we're like what, episode 7?
Episode 7, there's 16 episodes. We have 9 episodes left.
Okay, so there's
And
quite a few.
I really think they should be releasing 2 episodes a week.
And they're little short ones too. I felt really spoiled like on the first one because I was like looking at my watch like, how? Okay, is this the way we're rolling now? And then I'm like, damn it, no, it's not.
Yeah. Yep. So I'm
really
just like,
curious. Yeah, I'm really curious to see where it goes because I'm like, okay, at what point is Hunter going to wring her damn neck? Because this dude,
yeah,
he's like,
and
she don't listen.
There's a lot of fluff going on with it. So that's where I'm like, Matt heard me talking and wanted to mention that he believes Tech Scanner aggravated Wrecker's chip. But my answer to that, and I will question him on this later, is if Tech Scanner made the chip activate, then why didn't the rest of them get activated? Because Tech had his chip removed. I don't know if we only saw like a patch on Tech's head, so we didn't see Echo and we didn't see Hunter. And Hunter,
no, Hunter has his up under, that nice hair he has.
I know. So that's what I was gonna say. We see Hunter say bye to Rex, and we don't see a patch on his head, which they would have had to shave a patch of his hair to get it. So, but you're right. It could be covered by the hair. I don't know. But what did you think about seeing Rex? And like Rex getting the chip gone?
Well, when I saw Rex, that's when I was like, it's gonna do something with Record and the chip. Because like I said, Clay mentioned this like the other week. And as soon as I saw Rex, I said, it's gonna be Chip. He's gonna either have something to do with them getting theirs removed. And basically that's kind of what it was all about. I mean, it was I don't know if it really went. I'm like, did I miss anything else? Because that seems like to me that was the only one that really, the whole point of everything was them to get the chip removed.
And I'm really starting to get annoyed with Tech because Tech's very logical, but he's not getting it, if that makes sense. Like, he's like, oh yeah, there's nothing to worry about. We're special, so the chip's never going to activate. And I'm like, dude, really? Like, clearly Crosshair's activated. Like, hello?
Yeah, exactly. And I'm ready to see more of Crosshair too, because last time we saw him, I mean, he was
training that unit.
Yeah. But it's almost like I don't know, it's like he had a moment or something. I don't know. I have to go back and rewatch that because I don't know if he was like the typical, soldiers, like, they follow orders and that kind of thing. But I'm wondering if he's having some kind of internal battle. Maybe his chip is different. Maybe it's, I think his directive is to be like that perfect soldier, obviously, because he just seems like he's more so that than, the others. And Echo, bless his heart. I mean, he's.
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel really bad for Echo. Like,
I know, right?
It's the whole thing. I feel like it's very fluffy, but at the same time, like, I'm looking for more development on these characters than just.
And that's why I said, like, my first impression of this, I said it was cute. So I was like, it's cool because you have that. We missed the Clone Wars because it's such a fantastic series. So we're missing that. So we got this, and it's like, okay, oh my gosh, and then you're bringing these characters that you knew, and then you're trying to bring all these other characters and all this kind of stuff. So it's fun to watch. It's like anything else. It's Star Wars. It's more to it. It's something to watch until we get some of the live action stuff. But I mean, for the most, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it from the get go. So
yeah.
And I think my thing is I try not to read too much into it. I just want to enjoy it for its entertainment value. And I don't know if that's what it's there for. I mean, maybe once you get to for like to the season or the episode 8, and then once you kind of hit that plateau and then start going down, maybe it'll start fleshing out a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe. And that's where I'm like, okay, I just gotta keep watching. But it's really hard for me to like review it right now because I'm just annoyed.
Yeah.
Like I'm annoyed it's not progressing more. And I know there's 16 episodes. And I realize like Clone Wars at points had fluff. Like it's
Yeah.
there for a reason. Sometimes you just have to meet a quota. Could you have done the quota better? Yes. But maybe that's a different story. And I realize we're still kind of getting introduced to these characters, but the introduction to the Bad Batch for me was
It's already been
in
done.
the Bad
Yeah.
Batch arc.
Yeah.
You get your introduction to Omega in episode 1. And yes, it's cool to kind of see them training, like shoot the bow and everything. But I don't need more than that.
Mm-hmm. Now it's
least
time to really
for
start
now.
getting into the story. It's time. But, I mean, it's like let's trust in Filoni. He's got a plan. I hope
He's only a producer on this, so
well, he's got to have some type of, I mean, it's part of his grand scheme. It's like he's kind of like the Lucas of.
yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of like you too. I'm like it's I'm ready to get more into it. I'm ready to let's start diving into it. Let's find out what the point is. Let's find out what a mega story is. Let's find out the Bad Batch. Are they gonna who the hell are they gonna say? What are they gonna end up doing? Because they're gonna have to have like this grand gesture, this grand mission, and maybe that's what it's leading up to with them working with who's it? Is it Sid? Kind of working. Yeah. And that's what Nathan's so funny. He's like, it's like the Space A-Team, but now because of Sid, he's like, it's almost like Charlie's Angels. Listen to like the first part of SES. It's hilarious.
Okay.
I missed that part. That was like the part I missed, but it was like, okay, I can see what you're saying now.
Yeah. No, he said that last episode. He was like, I bet money, like you're gonna get the Bad Batch in space, and then you're gonna hear from a box Sid talking.
Yeah, that's what he was saying. I was just like, oh my gosh. It's like, no, let's not do that. No. It's like,
number one, there's holograms for a reason.
I know, right? But I mean, yeah, I'm like you. I'm ready for it to. Well, let's really start, diving in. Let's really go down and let's have more of a story that figures out why. What's the point? I mean, because. I'm kind of like at that point too. I'm like, everything, that's cute, yeah. Reminisce a little bit, haha, yeah. All right, well, okay, what's the point? What's the point?
That's where I'm at.
Because I'm telling you right now, that little girl, I'm like, no, they ain't. Oh, yep. Second time she run off, no. We gonna have some boundaries right here. Some boundaries.
Exactly. And that's kind of where I feel like it's kind of treading over Mandalorian story types with Grogu kind of running off for the spiders, for instance. Like,
or so eating frog ladies, babies.
Did we really need another found father situation?
Well, that makes me wonder. I mean, does she have a purpose? That's what I'm saying. It's like I want to know if she has a purpose. Okay, let's start. Going down that path to find out, because right now it's just, because at least Grogu, I mean, you're like, okay, he may or may not be the last of his species. I mean, you who the hell knows? But, it's like, okay, well, leading this up, he's where he needs to be right now. I'm ready for this little girl to get where she needs to be.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's just the mama in me, because I'm like I tell my kids, I can't with you right now. I just can't with you right now.
Yep. Okay, so the one thing I wanted to point out, I think, so the chip removal happens on Baraka.
Mm-hmm.
And Baraka, Star Wars. I think that's the planet that, yes, Baraka was created for the 2019 video game Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Yes. So that is kind of a. Hey,
I think Jay mentioned that one. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. See, I didn't listen to SCS yet because I was like,
I know. And that was the one part I missed because I wanted to talk about Bad Batch and I missed it. I was on the phone with my dad, so I was like, I had a good reason.
Right now. So
But yeah, he did mention that, so it was.
because I thought like the floating guards at the end, I was like, that costume looks familiar. And I didn't play a lot of Fallen Order,
Yeah,
but I did play that scene. So
yeah, that's where I'm kind of like limited because I would just kind of come in because Brian he played it and I would just kind of come in and see certain things or had to tell me like, look, we can go to this planet, we can do this. So if he saw that, he probably would have recognized that. So yeah, but I remember I think Jay did mention that and we're like, okay, well that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. You know, then you got all these little tie-ins, like I said, all these little minute tie-ins. Maybe it's like one of those little Easter eggs. I don't know. I haven't watched one of those because it. I love it how some other folks like dive in a little bit deeper, and I'm just like, okay, I'll ride with that.
watches those, and I don't want. For me, when I'm reviewing something, I don't want to watch anything else until after I've done the review because then
Yeah.
I'm
Like,
like,
what did I miss?
well, it's not necessarily that, but I always feel like when I read reviews that influences my opinion.
Mhm.
So I don't read any reviews and I try to avoid like even like Twitter comments about stuff until I've done the review myself.
Yeah,
So
speak your piece and then compare notes.
yep.
But like I said, I mean, there's really not really much to say about it up until this point. There's really not. I don't know really what is there to review.
Yeah. So next episode, I think we're gonna get them escaping from the guards on Baraka.
Mm-hmm.
And then I really need to see something done with Finnick. Whether that's them going and physically finding her or then her catching up to them and then like them interrogating her, but something's gotta give. And
Yes, I
we need
agree.
some story.
I absolutely
So
agree. Well, like I said, she's after her. She's after Omega for a purpose. Because
and people were saying like she's after like the clones, and I'm like, I don't think so. She had a hologram of Omega.
yeah,
So for me, I think she's after Omega, definitely. And we'll just see what happens.
I mean that's all we can do right now. Because honestly, I mean there's really not much. And I hate to say this, not really that much of a storyline thus far.
No, there's
Other than it's
not.
on the surface, I really can't figure out anything below just yet.
Yeah.
I can't really scratch too far down. So, and that's interesting because normally Star Wars, you know, you got all kinds of good stuff going on. You kind of
Yeah.
like scratch a little bit and figure it out.
This is what I was worried about.
Maybe it's just on
This
the
is what I was
back.
worried about with the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
So I
We'll
don't know.
see. We'll see. I'm keeping
We will
my
see.
I'm keeping my mind open. I'm keeping my mind open. I'm enjoying it. I am enjoying it. I really am enjoying it. But like I said, it's kind of some of the last few episodes seems like they've kind of like the rehash of the same episode. It's not really. I don't feel like you're really moving forward. I'm ready to move forward.
Yep.
So
Me too.
I know,
But
not very exciting, but
I know we should have put the Bad Batch in the middle and then talked about the books.
I know. Maybe we got kind of animated on those.
I know.
But
All right,
that's all I got on the Bad Batch.
Yeah, I think that's it. So, and that concludes our episode for today. So, Sarah, tell us where they can find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Melody Kitten, and then also on Friday nights, hanging out with the fellas with Super Civil Servants podcast. I know I missed a couple of weeks, but we're starting to rev it up. So we had a nice little discussion last Friday, so it was really fun.
I know. After next weekend, my goal is to get back on there more.
Yeah.
But Fridays are just so draining for me because it's been a long week, and
honestly, I mean, because like I said, with work, I travel a lot more. You know, I've got a lot more on my plate now, and it's fun. I totally enjoy it. But I had just flown back from Nashville like that day, and I really contemplated. I'm like, do I really? Do I want? Then I'm like, you know what? I got to talk to my tribe. We got to, we got to talk about these things. It's just a fun and chase squirrels. We love chasing the squirrels. I think that's my favorite thing about it. But It's always fun, and also, obvious Katie, we always love having you on there because
I know.
I know
I'm
it's
bad.
I know it's crazy. It's crazy. I mean, because I was just a listener to begin with, and here I am. I'm like, this is my hangout. So, because I remember listening to you. But thank you for the invite for today. I have thoroughly enjoyed it, and
Yeah,
I got some books to read.
you're
Obviously,
always welcome back. So
yes, absolutely, absolutely. It's always fun. It's always fun. But yeah, we got to have our little book club going on some more.
yes.
I always find out after the fact when you guys are going to read something. I'm like, I can't have this whole book read in like 24
Well,
hours.
here, you know, I gave you notice on Bane.
All right, I got you. I got you. Yeah, they'll be here. I'll have my books here. Don't worry.
And hey, late November, we're gonna go through book 3 of Thrawn. So there's your warning now.
Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I'm on
So
that
that's
one.
2 weeks after it occurred, after it comes out. So
2 weeks. Oh man. Okay, I can do that. I can do that. I can do that. You just have to remind me when to do pre-order. So
I think you can pre-order it now. I haven't pre-ordered mine yet because I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see because the first one, the first hardcover had like the blue painted edges. I really want the third one to have it, so I'm waiting to do my pre-order until they reveal if they're gonna do like the sprayed edges.
oh
So
yeah, I think mine did. I don't
they
remember.
the Greater Good they didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, Greater Good they didn't have enough time, or is that Lesser Evil? That's Greater Good. Um, they didn't have enough time to get it sprayed. So I'm hoping they have enough time to get the last one sprayed. And they had special editions where like the first one is like the young Thrawn portrait
Hmm.
with the blue edges. And then the second one, the Greater Good, they had a special edition with him like in his like senior captain's gear
Hmm.
with like the red sprayed edges. But those were $150 each.
Well, that'd be good to look at, but no, no.
I I have enough trouble convincing Matt to let me get like the $50 special edition of the Rising Storm. So
Well,
yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting through Greater Good because the characters are interesting. And is it Talus? What's her name?
Uh, Talia?
Is it
No, it's not
Talia?
Talia.
I mean, it's something along that.
Thalia.
She's the caregiver.
Yeah,
My
Thalia.
thing with her is I want to see where she ends up in the third book
Yeah.
because her character is very intriguing to me. It's very intriguing because it's almost like that relationship
I like her.
she has with Ron. It's really, I don't know. It's almost like he brings out some type. She brings out some type of, I don't want to say humanity, but it's almost like he's not as cold and distant.
Trust.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how that works.
We'll see what happens.
But anyways, that's for another discussion because I would have loved to like read this and talk with you and Nathan about it, but I'll get there.
Well, when you're finished, you have an open invitation to come back and talk about it.
Yes,
So
absolutely, absolutely. All right, lady.
you can find this podcast. It's on Twitter. It's at Star Wars Alliance without the A in the Wars. I'm trying to do better at promoting. I promise. I am.
I'll remind you.
Travis reminds me too, and I still suck. So yeah. Um. So there's that. You can find this episode. It drops on the podcast feeds on Thursday. So you can check that out. You can find me on Twitter. It's at Slice of Katie. I am not on Twitter a lot and I don't have notifications enabled. So if you send me a message, I will get back to you, but not always immediately. But if you want to come on and talk about Star Wars, if you've got a question, send it my way, please. I love talking about anything you'll throw at me. Like, I love talking about these books. So my goal is to have this and the next one read by the next Star Wars Alliance episode so I can talk about those. So, but yes, send me if you've got questions, send them my way. We will be back here in 2 weeks. So that is, let me pull up the date. It's the 27th of June. So make sure you come back on that Sunday. We'll be here live on Geek versus YouTube channel. My other podcast, it's at Slice of Film 1 on Twitter. And if you want to come talk about a film with me, please do. My next one is going to be A Quiet Place Part 2. So that is the next episode. Nothing else planned after that. So please come talk about an episode with me.
I think we
Come talk
might.
about a movie with me, not an episode. An episode with me.
But we have talked. We have talked TV series as well. So I mean, it's pretty much up to.
Yes. Well, the TV series was Patreon exclusive, so Sarah and I did that.
See,
for
that's one good
Bridgerton.
reason to do the Patreon, because you never know. You
That
never
was-
know.
Yeah. That was a great episode. Lots of fun. But we're gonna have. I may pull you on for like a Pride and Prejudice, and we may have to do that.
Okay.
You like Pride and Prejudice?
Yes.
Ooh,
Yes.
yeah.
I always like that kind of stuff. And I think, didn't we discuss possibly getting together and watching a film as well? Discussing a film as well?
Uh-huh.
What was
Yeah.
that? I don't remember. I have old brain. I can't remember. I can't remember nothing.
So writing this stuff down.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I have to go back and look at our text string and whatnot. But yeah, there's like tons of. I'm sure. I think it was something I don't think I had watched either. So it might be one of those where let's just look at it from fresh perspectives and that kind of thing. So
Yes, absolutely.
but,
As we sit here rambling in my outro, I'm terrible at this stuff, y'all.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah. I'm out of coffee. It's still morning. I mean, like it's almost afternoon, but anyways,
It's 12 o'clock, Sarah.
I have been up since 6:30. Okay, thank you very much. 'Cause
Ooh, no.
I have a
no.
5-month-old puppy that I just love to
Oh.
pieces. His name is Bruce, and he's totally, I know. He's snoozing on the couch right now because he's totally worthless, but it's fine. He's my Bruce
This
Wayne.
is my oldest. He is
Aw.
Antilles.
Yes, and then of course I have my Austen, which she was named after Jane Austen. So yes, I have something I'm very interested in.
And then here's Benny.
Oh,
Benny was named after Ben Kenobi.
yes.
Because my mom is a Pride and Prejudice person.
Mhm.
And so, sorry, y'all, this is really random, but So Benny, she actually bought Benny from a breeder. So all of our puppies are from the same breeder. And she fell in love with this one that she saw on the breeder's Facebook. And so she picked him up. And she has 2 miniature schnauzers. One's name is Fitz, and one's name is Darcy.
Mhm.
And so he was Benny for Bennett.
Mhm.
And Fitz was Fitzwilliam.
Mhm.
So Fitz ended up beating up Benny. And so my mom was like, we need to find him a new home, like one that will love him, because I was like, why don't you just get rid of Fitz? And she was like, well, I can't do that. I'm like, so funny enough, like Matt was looking for a dog at the time. And this was when we weren't dating. And so I was like, hey, my mom is looking for a new home for this miniature schnauzer. Like, she's got all the paperwork, like, and like you can have toys, bed, crate, like she's got all of it. Like, so it'll set you up pretty nice. And he was like, no, I'm not at a good spot right now. Like, he was looking to get a fence and stuff. So I was like, well, you know what? I'll keep him in the family until he needs a buddy. So
Yeah.
So that's how Benny got to be with me. And I changed his name from Bennett to just Benny. So
Yeah. Sweet boy, look at that. Well, we got Bruce. I want to name him Anakin, but I got voted out. So Bruce for Bruce Wayne. I was like, all right, it is what it is. And like I said, Austen, she came out of the literary litter, so she's named after Jane Austen. And yeah, pretty much. So, all right, my dear, we have had tons and tons of fun.
yes, funny enough, I told Travis, I was like, this episode's not going to go longer than an hour, and here we are at the 2-hour mark. So
you know how we be.
yes. All right, y'all. I want to wish everyone a great day or night, whatever time of day you're listening or watching, and we'll see y'all next time. May the force be with you. Bye.
All right, bye, guys.